Hey guys, Endless here, welcome back to the channel. This is part 6 for What If Deku trained like Garou. Also check out the other videos on my playlists. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. Endeavor roared and sent an attack towards Izuku. Flash Fire Fist, Jet Burn. In response, said boy got into a stance and roared. Whirlwind Water Stream, Cross-Fong Dragon Slayer Fist. As he said this, a dark purple trail followed after said fist. Izuku's attack cut through the fire, and as this happened, Katsuki jumped up into the air and roared. AP shot. Endeavor had saw this and jumped back. But just as he did, Mount Lady had moved a piece of the destroyed ground in front of the concentrated explosions. Said explosions made impact with a boom. Shigaraki growled and spoke to the Nomu that was standing beside him. Go attack some civilians. Said creature screeched and ran towards the police officers and the crowd on the side of the crater. Izuku had saw this and gritted his teeth. As he looked away, however, Endeavor had appeared in front of him and roared. Flash Fire Fist, Hell's Curtain. The number 2 hero concentrated his flames on his left hand and launched it forward. The red-haired boy turned around and launched a punch as well. Exploding Heart Release Fist. The flames met fist and the two collided with a boom. After the explosion, there was a shockwave that could be felt throughout the battlefield, which temporarily stopped all the fighting. Katsuki huffed and launched himself towards Empty Lady. Get out of my way. He then roared while spinning. Howitzer impact. Said heroine put her guard up, and as she did, Bakugo appeared in front of her. Boom. As the blonde was going to land, something had crashed into him, which sent the duo to the ground in a thud. Katsuki was about to shout at whoever had attacked him, but noticed that it was Izuku. Said boy spat out some blood and huffed. Those flames are no joke, he said nonchalantly. Izuku then got up and offered a hand for Bakugo. Said boy took the offered hand and stood up. Alright, we need to combine our attacks against Endeavor. As they were talking, however, Shigaraki had appeared at their side. You know I'm here too. The red-haired boy glanced at the man and shrugged. I forgot that you were. Shigaraki growled and scratched his neck. Whatever, I'm going to launch another widespread attack. As they dodged, that's when you two attack. Said duo looked at each other and nodded. Tamura had saw this and touched the ground, and as he did, Shigaraki roared. Jump now. As he said this, said duo jumped up, and Katsuki had moved both of his arms in front of him and his muscles tensed. And as this happened, Izuku was right beside him. The red-haired boy readied an attack of his own. And in unison they both roared. Die, Exploding Heart Release Fist. The red-haired boy's attack empowered the explosions due to the wind pressure, and there was a massive boom. As this happened, Endeavor had saw the attack and roared, all the while moving his arms in front of him and across. Prominence Burn. The two attacks connected and sent everyone back due to the shockwave. In the mountains at the same time, Bang stared at the TV in front of him and smashed his fist into it. He growled and was about to call his brother, but that's when there was a knock at his door. What, I shouldn't be expecting anyone at this hour. The silver-haired man wearily made it to the door, but just as he was about to open it, there was a boom. After the old man had saw this, he dashed towards his phone at lightning speed and put his guard up. He had spat out some blood due to the explosion. Said man ignored the pain and quickly sent a text towards his brother. And said text read, meet me at my mountain, I may need your help. Bang then put his phone away and looked around at his now destroyed dojo. Silver Fong growled and tensed when he saw 5 Nomus in front of him. 4 of them were gray and 1 is black with a chainsaw. As he was analyzing them, one of the Nomus had threw a radio-looking device at Bang's feet. Before Bang could question what that's for, a voice could be heard. Makia, come to this location and defeat the enemy. As All for One said this, said monster had woke up and roared to the sky. I will follow my master's orders. He then dashed through the forest and made his way towards Bang. All for One smirked and chuckled. He then drank some tea and he took a glance at Inko. You know, he didn't say anything about his other family members. He then continued in a mocking tone. Your son just told me to not kill you. Inko frowned and growled. If he finds out, he will come for you. Said villain just laughed and put his hand over Inko's head. That's why you will forget that this whole conversation had happened, my dear. Memory wipe. After he said this, Inko had fell to the ground with a thud. He then spoke to one of the Nomus by the door. Take her back to her room. Back to the fight. Izuku dashed towards Best Jeanist and launched a high kick towards the man. Said hero dodged the kick and used his quirk to change the redhead's trajectory. What the? As Izuku said this, edge shot appeared at his side and launched a punch towards the boy's stomach. When said punch made impact, there was a crack. The red-haired boy spat out blood and was launched towards the ground with a thud, which left a dust cloud when he landed. Best Jeanist frowned and asked a question. Did you not hold back on that punch? Edge Shot stared at his hand and spoke after a moment. I did. The number 3 hero was confused at this and looked at Edge Shot's hand and saw that it was broken. How did he break it? The man questioned, then his eyes went wide at the realization. During that moment he attacked, the boy had used that time to break his hand. Izuku laughed and launched the rubble that was on top of him to the side. Now let's keep going, heroes. As the red and black-haired boy spoke, everyone felt dread. Because there was a massive amount of killing intent that was leaking from Izuku, which didn't seem natural. Endeavor took a step back and muttered. Are we even fighting a brat? The pro-hero native took this opportunity to attack Izuku's blind spot and launched a punch. Said boy glanced at the hero and launched a punch of his own. Said attack had a dark trail following after it. The two punches had connected and Izuku grinned when he heard a crack. Endeavor growled and roared. Flash Fire Fist, Hell Spider. As he said this, 5 lines of fire rushed towards Izuku, but as they were about to make impact, said boy disappeared and reappeared behind Endeavor. You know, all this fighting is getting real old. The number 2 hero froze and tried to jump back, but that's when Izuku grabbed the man by his head and grinned. Let's see if you can stop this. Izuku then roared, all the while spinning. Whirlwind Water Stream, Roaring Aura Sky Ripping Fist. He then let go of Endeavor and launched the man towards the downed Ingenium and Manual. Todoroki roared at the duo. Move out of the way, I can't stop. Said hero's eyes went wide and they tried to move. Endeavor gritted his teeth and his flames intensified. He roared, all the while launching a punch towards the ground. Flash Fire Fist, Jet Burn. Boom. Izuku grinned once he saw Endeavor flying into the air. As this was happening, Bakugo launched a roundhouse kick towards Best Jeanist with an explosion, but said hero side-stepped him and muttered. Blackout Bind. The blonde froze once his clothes trapped him and was now suffocating him. Katsuki roared in defiance. Poof. As he said this, the temperature around him was rapidly expanding. Wait, what? Best Jeanist jumped away from the boy, and as he did there was a boom. Katsuki huffed and moved his arms behind him. Blasting Speed Turbo. He was now in front of the now surprised number 3 hero and was about to launch an explosion towards the man. Best Jeanist just sighed and moved his hand to the side. As the number 3 hero did this, Katsuki's attack was sent towards an unexpected Izuku. Boom. Said boy got sent flying towards the ground, and when he landed there was a crack. Bakugo just muttered. Oh shit. Izuku growled and spat out some blood. I did not expect that. But as he stood up, Endeavor roared, all the while going towards Izuku like a meteor falling from the sky. Said boy looked up and cracked his neck. "Well, I want to see what this black thing does." As Izuku said this, he looked towards his hand. Unknown to the boy, his red eye had turned black. Endeavor roared and launched his fist forward. Vanishing fist. The red-haired boy's eyes went wide at the large pillar of flames that were rushing towards him. But that shock soon turned into excitement. He then launched an attack of his own. Exploding heart release fist. The two attacks collided and fought for dominance, and Izuku was slowly getting overwhelmed. The red-haired boy looked at his arm and frowned. "I've been holding back all this time." He then continued, all the while being pushed back. "If I don't win, what will happen to my mother? Will they just kill her?" As he thought this, Izuku's blood boiled and he roared. "Screw this." As Izuku said this, his fists went a dark purple and he roared. Whirlwind Water Stream, Cross-Fong Dragon Slayer Fist. Endeavor's eyes went wide when his attack was cut through the middle, and said hero tried to put his guard up when he saw Izuku dash towards him. However, said boy appeared behind him and growled. "You're in the way from me saving her." He then launched a blow towards Endeavor's head and sent the hero to the ground in a massive boom. The hero's head saw this and froze. Once the smoke had cleared, everyone was shocked that Izuku was standing over an unconscious Endeavor. As this was happening, Katsuki huffed and held his bleeding arm. He then muttered, "Wait, where is the hand guy?" As if on cue, Shigaraki grinned and touched the back of Native and another hero. Said man chuckled and laughed in joy. "Heroes, as these brats distracted you, I took care of all of the bystanders and other side characters." Best Jeanist and Edge Shot stared at the scene before them and clenched their fist in anger. The police officers and civilians were now killed, and even some pro-heroes who tried to stop him and the Nomu. The red-haired boy looked up and froze at the sight. "Wait, this happened because of me." He then looked at the unconscious Endeavor at his feet and gritted his teeth. No, all of this had happened because of him. Izuku stared at Shigaraki with a feral grin. Said man noticed this and was about to speak, but that's when Izuku appeared in front of the man and roared. "I will kill you and your master before you kill her." He then shouted and launched a punch towards Shigaraki. Whirlwind, Iron Cutting Fist. As his attack was about to connect, Izuku noticed a strand of his clothing moved his attack to the side, and the punch connected with the ground with a boom. Izuku glared at Best Jeanist and nodded over towards Katsuki. Said blonde just muttered under his breath and launched himself towards Best Jeanist. Shigaraki stared at Izuku and frowned. "Why are you attacking me? You know if I press this button, a Nomu will kill your mother." As he said this, Tamura pulled out a remote, but just as he did, Izuku disappeared and was now in front of him. "Oh, you mean this remote?" Crack! He threw it to the ground and cracked his neck. "I really hate you for putting all of those doubts into my head, and now I'm a villain because of you." Tamura just smirked at this and shouted towards the Nomu. "Kill him." As he said this, Tamura was about to text Kurogiri for a portal, but the Nomu's head landed at his feet. Shigaraki looked up and froze at the sight. It didn't even take him a second. Izuku walked towards the man calmly and spoke in a cold tone. "Don't worry, you'll be next." Tamura just roared and touched the ground. "I would like to see you try, monster." Instead of dodging, Izuku moved his arm back and a black trail followed after his fist. "You know, that gives me an idea for an attack." He then roared. "Monster Calamity, God Slayer Fist." The attack was sent towards Tamura with another boom. Said man flew back towards the ground with a thud. Tamura spat out blood and tried to touch the ground once again. However, Izuku appeared in front of the man and grabbed his arm. "You know that attack I just used? That's the first time I used it." Shigaraki just growled and was about to respond, but that's when he felt pain. He cried out and looked at his arm that was now in Izuku's grasp. said boy stared at the arm and threw it to the ground. The red-haired boy was about to launch another attack, but that's when Tamura spoke in a crazed tone. Even if you kill me I win, I made you a villain, you won't be able to become a hero. The red-haired boy launched his fist through the man's chest and had a tear fall down from his eye. I think it's already too late for that. In the mountains. Bang dodged a blow from a gray Nomu and launched a punch with a blue trail. His attack connected with the creature's head and instantly killed it. He then dodged the chainsaw from the screeching Nomu who was waving it around like a madman. Silver Fong raised an eyebrow and roared. Water stream, rock smashing fist. As the Nomu swung his chainsaw once again, Bang moved to the side and launched his attack towards the thing's shoulder. Boom! The old man jumped back and huffed. Now try to use that weapon of yours. As he said this, his shirt got ripped and Bang clutched the side of his stomach. I didn't react fast enough. Instead of being worried, Bang just laughed and the Nomu regenerated its arm and picked up the chainsaw with both of his hands. He tore off his shirt and tied it around his stomach. After he did this, Bang stretched and he muttered. It's been a while since I've been in a fight. He then dashed towards the Nomu and appeared behind it. Thank you for showing me how rusty I got. As Silver Fong said this, his fists moved like a blur and decapitated the Nomu, which fell onto the ground in a thud. As this happened, he heard footsteps behind him. More villains. The old man thought tactically. However, he sighed when he saw that it was his brother. Said man looked at the destroyed dojo and 5 dead Nomus at his feet. Wow, they gave you a beating. Bang just chuckled after he heard this and moved his arms behind him. I haven't been in a serious fight in a while, so can you blame me? Bomb just shook his head and was about to speak, but that's when the duo heard a booming roar. For my master. Bang tensed and muttered. Gigantomachia. As he said this, said creature appeared near the mountain and growled towards the 2 older men. You were the ones that gave me this scar on my chest. Bomb stared at the behemoth and spoke. So that man ordered you to defeat us. I think he is quite threatened if he resorts to those measures. After Makia had heard this, he growled and launched a punch towards the mountain. Said blow landed with a boom. As this happened, Bang and Bomb jumped on its arm and dashed towards the beast. Makia noticed their approach and swiped his arm to the side, which left a massive shockwave that destroyed the trees in the line of attack. He looked at his arm and wondered if they died to the fall. Just as he thought this, however, Makia heard a roar from his side. Whirling wind, flowing water, fist of roaring ki, bending air. The 2 men launched their punch towards Makia and grinned when they heard a crack. Said creature howled in pain and activated his 7th quirk, Mole. As he did, however, the duo roared. Not yet. There were continuous booms. After 30 seconds their attacks stopped and the 2 jumped down towards the ground. As they did so, the smoke cleared and Makia spat out blood and glared at the duo. I will not fail, master. After he said this, 30 portals appeared around him and villains appeared by Makia's side. Kurogiri then appeared on top of his head and spoke. Use them how you see fit. After he said this, Kurogiri had disappeared. But that is the end of this part. If you enjoyed this part, leave a like and subscribe. Also tell me on how this part had came out in the comments, and what do you guys think of an Asta what if?